Hello, dear viewers. Today I'm going to be talking about President Donald Trump's tariffs on India. Let's get started. Hello, I'm a global nationalist. I support nationalism in my country, India, and in all countries around the globe. Today I'm going to be talking about nationalism within India with respect to current events. The current event facing India today is the tariffs imposed by President Trump of the United States on India, where he has put two separate rounds of tariffs on India, each of 25%, adding up to a total of 50% on certain goods imported in by the US from India. I want to explain what these tariffs are and see how different industries are going to be affected and what the economic impact could be. And I want to try to understand uh, in President Trump's reasons for these tariffs. Without further ado, let's begin. The first round of tariffs were imposed on August 1st, 2025. Trump announced a penalty for India, or President Donald Trump announced 25% tariffs on Indian exports into America. He announced a tariff rate on for India on social media platform Truth Social. Remember, I'm quoting him, remember, while India is our friend, we have over the years done relatively little business with them because their tariffs are far too high, among the highest in the world, and they have the most strenuous and obnoxious non monetary trade barriers of any country. India will therefore be paying a tariff of 25%. Now, let me see what these tariffs will be on different goods. They will be on shrimp exports, the textile sector, and gems and jewelry. The managing director of seafood exporter Mega Moda noted that Indian shrimp already faces a 2.49% anti-dumping duty and a 5.77% countervailing duty. With the new 25% tariff, the total duty will rise to 33.26%. Textile sector. The Confederation of Indian Textile Industry expressed concerns that the new tariff regime would severely damage one of India's largest export categories, gems and jewelry. The managing director at Kama Jewelry stated that about 55% of India's shipments to the US are now under direct threat. He estimated that the tariffs put Indian exporters at a 30 to 35% disadvantage compared to peers in countries with lower tariffs. And now on to the secondary tariffs on this. Trump imposed 25% tariffs on August 27. This came up to a total of 50%. US tariffs of 50% on goods from India took effect on Wednesday as Donald Trump sought to punish Delhi for buying Russian oil and weapons. So this is a different tariff than the first one. The first one was because India had very high tariffs on American goods, and so America increased the tariffs on their from on India's goods. But this is for political reasons, geopolitical in particular, because India has bought Russian oil and weapons, and so the U.S. has imposed tariffs on India. These tariffs, amongst the highest in the world, include a 25% penalty for transactions with Russia that are a key source of funds for its war in Ukraine. India has shown no signs of stopping its purchases, calling the tariffs unfair and vowing to choose the best deal on buying oil to protect its 1.4 billion people. I don't think that this is necessary from the US, and especially Trump, because Trump's, when he was running for office, said that he would end the war and that he would not get the United States involved in foreign wars. And the Ukraine war with Russia is a foreign war that Joe Biden, under his presidency, got involved in, where he gave military and financial aid to Ukraine and gave them diplomatic support and sanctioned Russian oil. Trump, unfortunately, is following a similar policy, which I hope he will stop. And so let me see the impacts of this. Which sectors will be worst hit? The Global Trade Research Initiative, GTRI, a New Delhi based think tank, told the Financial Times newspaper that Indian exports to the US could fall from 86.5 billion this year to about $50 billion in 2026 as a result of today's announcement. Textiles, gems, jewelry, shrimp, and carpets would be worst affected, with the sectors bracing for a 70% collapse in exports, endangering hundreds of thousands of jobs. So, this is a really big problem for India, can cause a lot of economic damage. Will any industries be exempt? The Indian pharmaceutical industry has been exempted from immediate tariff increases due to the significance of generic drugs in providing affordable healthcare in the US. Meanwhile, semiconductors and consumer electronics will also be covered by separate sector specific US tariffs, not these 50%. Finally, aluminum and steel products, together with passenger vehicles, will also be subject to tariffs separate from the blanket 50% raise. So, yeah, this shows that these tariffs are not on all products, but only on some, with several products being exempted. This means India can still make money selling exports to the United States, but less than usual. And uh, why, where did this idea of sanctioning or tariffing India for buying Russian oil come from to Trump? Well, it originated from a senator named Lindsey Graham, who introduced a sanctions bill that he called bone crushing Russian sanctions. He pledged, this was on 7th, 2025, June 7th, 2025. Senator Lindsey Graham pledged that his expansive sanctions bill would be bone crushing for the Russian economy. South Carolina Republicans' proposal to impose 500% tariffs on any country that buys Russian energy was introduced into the Senate by both him and a Democratic senator. Later, he proposed a broad carve out for countries that provide aid to Ukraine. This exemption would spare the European Union, which continues to import almost 20% of its gas from Russia. And Senator Richard Blumenthal is the Democratic senator who introduced this bill. So, of course, the Trump has not put a 500% tariff, but a 50% tariff. So he's reduced it, but we can see where he got the idea from. And yeah, so this is these are the facts on the ground. What does this show? This, in my opinion, shows that India is under heavy pressure from the US. that we face several economic challenges. However, I think that this will be not too bad for India. Not all of our products are being tariffed, and major industries like semiconductors and pharmaceuticals are not being tariffed, so those will still have access to the American market. And I'm glad that we haven't given in to American pressure. I think we still need to import Russian oil, and because it's being sold at India at a discounted price and being sold to the rest of the world at a profit. So India's saving money and making money through this venture. And it also shows Russia that we are not going to abandon them in a time of need for them. And I'm also glad that India has remained neutral in Russia's war with Ukraine, that it has not succumbed to pressure from the West to blame Russia, and which has existed since the war began, where President Biden asked India's Prime Minister to, in April of that year, 2022, to impose sanctions on Russian oil, which India refused. Then later in 2023, uh, the US, along with Europe, put a price cap on Russian oil sold in on ships in the sea, uh, and India followed that by buying such Russian oil under that price cap. So this helped keep Russian oil flowing in the global economy without causing too much profits for Russia. So it satisfied both the US's needs for economic security and also Russia's needs for having a partner to to sell to. So India balanced both the West and Russia. And yeah, I don't think India should change. And I think India has been growing its economy. Latest economic figures say that India is growing at about 7.5% in the last quarter. And I think we're going to experience some challenges in the next quarters. And I hope that the government gives some subsidies to industries facing losses from exports and provides economic assistance to people who face job losses and may become unemployed. But I just don't think we should give in to Trump and the US. We have to stand firm to maintain our sovereignty. And now Prime Minister Modi has visited China at for SCO, and I think that'll help us gain access to Chinese market. So we're not shut out of the global economy because of these tariffs. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Please share your thoughts in the comment section. If you want to see other videos about uh, nationalism within India, click here. If you want to see my previous video, click here. If you want to see the sources I used for this video, click the links in the description below. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.